Hello and welcome to the No Balls podcast. I'm your host, Patrick McDonald, with me co-host Sheldon Kaufman. Today, we are talking about the Memphis Grizzlies. We are recapping their offseason, talking about their upcoming 25-26 season. If you don't know, we do this for all 30 teams. Today just happens to be the Grizzlies episode. It's your lucky day. Before we get started all the way, Sheldon has our trivia question, and then we have a pretty cool announcement right after this.
All right, Pat. And who was the first Memphis Grizzly with 3 triple doubles in a season? This player accomplished it in 26 games. He played 26 games. He only played 26 games for the Grizzlies, and he accomplished 3 triple doubles in 2019. Pat, name that player.
Wow. So I was like, okay, so Rudy Gay doesn't pass. Couldn't be Rudy Gay. 2019, 26 games. That was the year the Grizzlies bottomed out and got Ja Morant. I think the year before Mike Conley was hurt, and that's why they had 4th overall pick to get Jaren Jackson Jr. 26 games. They traded Marc Gasol mid-season, and he was pretty good passer from the big position. So if there's a game where he tallied up 10 assists, he probably would have done it that season. And there's nobody else good coming to my head from that season. I feel like Chandler Parsons was still on the team, but he didn't play games, but I feel like it was enough to where at that point he played like 20 minutes a game. I'm going to go with Marc Gasol.
All right, Pat. That's incorrect. It was DeLon Wright. 2 of them came against the Dallas Mavericks, who ended up trading for him during that offseason. So,
Damn.
I saw the Wizards legend DeLon Wright,
Knicks
3
legend.
triple doubles, 26 games, crazy.
Knicks legend, Bucks legend, Mavs legend, Heat legend, like 5 other teams. He's way too good to have played on as many teams as he has. This is a DeLon Wright podcast, if you did not know that.
It's now turned into one.
Our announcement. So, as we have previously stated, we are doing a 2-player 2K rebuild. 2K26 is out, and we have yet to announce our teams. One of the teams actually has already come up, and we were going to, or at least I think, what I thought your team was going to be has already came up, and I just forgot to let you announce it. But do you want to go first, or do you want me to announce my team first?
I think you should announce first because I'm curious to hear what
All right.
your team would be.
My team, we have not gotten to yet. Probably will be one of the last teams that we get to because they've done absolutely nothing so far. And I'm going to hope to continue to push forward in the Steph Curry era and then work forward into the next era with the Golden State Warriors.
Wow. Okay. Nice. I like that. All right.
What do we got?
Am I going to announce my team now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going with the hometown team, the Wizards,
Let's go.
We'll be looking to make some trades and win some games. Yeah, that's pretty much all I can say, Hopefully they can do I hope they can do as good as a job as Will Dawkins has been doing. So
yeah,
that's probably, is that his name, Will Dawkins?
Yeah, Will Dawkins. Yeah, so, we're taking over 2 completely different teams. It's gonna be awesome. Probably equal difficulty, to be honest. So I'm glad that was.
You're in the West, which helps me a little bit. That's your handicap, is you have to play in the West.
And my best players are 37.
Yeah, that too.
So we're gonna love that. Yeah, hopefully we do better than some of the other recently added GMs in the league that we'll talk about over the next couple of days. But Memphis doesn't have that situation. We're going to move forward and talk about the Grizzlies. First, we'll talk about the 2025 Grizzlies. Up and down season for sure. 48-34, 8th in the Western Conference. Expected record had them at 52-30, which was 6th in the entire NBA. Their SRS, which is opponent adjusted net rating, was 4.79, which was seventh in the league. 26 and 15 at home, 22 and 19 on the road, 36 and 18 pre All-Star break, a struggling 12 and 16 post All-Star break, 21 and 10 versus the East. As you can tell, that's an extra game right there. Their schedule got screwed up at some point. 37 and 24 versus the West. In clutch games, they still had a plus 7.5 net rating, which was eighth, but they were only 19 and 18 in clutch games. Just impossible season from the Memphis Grizzlies. Super weird mid-season coach firing. What are your takeaways from this past season from the Memphis Grizzlies?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a tale of two halves. If you look at pre All Star break, this was a really good team, Pat. Like top five in the West, I believe before the All Star break, and they were looking really good. John Morant looked really good. This team was deep as well. They had guys coming off the bench. Their starters weren't playing a lot of minutes. Like it was very deep team. Everyone was hitting, and then they kind of hit a wall after All Star break. John Morant got hurt a little bit, and really they went from like a 3 seed and then fired Taylor Jenkins seemingly out of nowhere. Um, it was a little confusing for a lot of people, and they shit the bed really. Dropped a lot of games, as you can see, went 12 and 16 post All Star break, fell all the way down to the 8 seed, and had to play the Thunder, and it's really hard to beat the champs, especially when John Morant's out, and you have a lot of younger guys getting big minutes in the playoffs. So, um, yeah, that's pretty much all you can take away from the season.
Yeah, I mean, it was a up and down season is a very simple way to fire or to describe it. Um, but if I had to give you one thing, on March 15th, we uploaded a video called "Who is the second best team in the Western Conference?" Because at the time it was like OKC and like the Warriors had played a bunch of shit teams after the Jimmy Butler trade, so nobody really took them seriously. The Lakers were super chaotic because midseason Luka trade. Um, Nobody really knew what to make of the Nuggets, and then the Clippers were just now getting Kawhi back, and Minnesota was like the 8 or 9 seed at that point in time. Like a whole bunch of stuff that just shaped up at the end of the season. Memphis at that moment was like the 3 seed
Yeah,
with the Lakers, and we were like pretty convinced that Memphis was in that top group. Um, and then 2 weeks later, they fired their head coach Taylor Jenkins. Just like super weird. And then I'm pretty sure after they fired him, they lost like all 5 of their games after they fired him. I can pull it up on Basketball Reference, but yeah, they were such a weird team last season, and I don't know if we've ever really seen a season like this. They were 44 and 29 under Taylor Jenkins, 4 and 9 under Tomas Isalo. There we go. Man, I really looked it up before the episode.
sorry,
Um,
Pat. You got to get one of those. You got to read the ones where it's like phonetically spelled out, maybe.
I did, but then I
Oh,
didn't
okay.
see it that way, and I forgot. I completely forgot. It's Tomas Isalo.
There you go.
Um, but yeah, just such a weird season. Way to go, Memphis. Um, Surprising they even they put up a fight in the first round, but it was a pretty ugly series overall. Offensive stats, we'll go ahead and talk about it. Sixth in offensive rating with a 117.6 offensive rating. 24th in preventing turnovers. Third in offensive rebound percentage. First in pace, playing at a neck break speed. In isolation, they were 12th in isolation, ninth in frequency. So keep that in mind for when we talk about the coaching situation later. Pick and roll ball handler efficiency was 26. Keep that in mind as well. 30th in pick and roll ball handler and roller frequency. And then they were 10th in roller efficiency. Post ups, they were second in the league in efficiency and 10th in frequency. Transition, they were 10th in efficiency and second in transition. What stands out to you the most about this offense?
Definitely the pick and roll, the ball handler roller stuff. They didn't like to do it a lot. This was a very they got away from what they normally doing. They did a lot of pick and roll the year before. This year they did a lot of movement, a lot of movement. So I think that's why you see those numbers a little lower, which is good, right? We always talk about how bad teams are running pick and roll a lot. This team got really creative with their offense at the beginning of the year. Really good in transition. I mean, second in transition, and you're scoring like 10th. You're converting on those attempts. We saw with a previous team earlier on, they were getting a lot of attempts, not converting. When you're able to do that, that makes your team so much better because you're just able to pick up those easy points. And when you have guys that can push the pace like John Morant, um, it really helps. And Jaren Jackson Jr. too, a big guy that can push the pace. First in pace, as you see right there as well. So this team was just very movement, not very stagnant, and that's what created a lot of opportunities for them and why they were so successful. I think this team would have been even better if they cleaned up the turnover percentage, as you can see there in red. Definitely would have helped a lot. But I mean, sixth in offensive rating. Your offense was looking good. You were hitting 3-pointers. You had guys that can drive to the rim. You had versatility at the point guard position. And when I say that, I mean you had different guys that could bring the ball up. Not just John Morant, but also Jaren Jackson Jr. was so effective, just taking bigs to the rack and converting on easy buckets and getting fouls, and even dumbing off the Zach Edey, who had a good year too. So
Yeah, I think we'll talk about my opinions on their offense a little bit more in the scheme section. But it was overall a good offense last season. I think they were closer to like third or fourth at the time of the Taylor Jenkins firing. Um, and keep in mind, this season, John Morant only played 50 games, and they still managed a top six offense this past season. Um, and as we'll get into the lineup data section, that is reflective in their lineup data as well. So we'll go forward to their defense because I think that is also interesting. And this was the main thing cited for why Taylor Jenkins was fired. Um, or no, that was Michael Malone. Completely conflating things in my head. Taylor Jenkins was also partially fired for this, but not the main reason, or it was part of the main reason. 113 defensive rating, ranked 10th, 14th in forcing turnovers, 20th in securing defensive rebounds, second ranked isolation defense, 23rd highest frequency. So, you like being very efficient there. Do you like having teams not run isolation against you? Not really, but you were still very good defending isolation. Ball handler frequency was 14th, 17th in efficiency, not bad. Pick and roll roller defense was 18th, and their frequency was 13th. So again, you'd rather a little bit better there, but it's not terrible. Post-up frequency was low at 19th and 5th in defensive efficiency, which is a very solid sign. And then transition defense, they were 15th in efficiency against, and then transition was 7th. Their transition percentage was 7th in the league last season, which is a sign that you don't want to see. However, overall, the offense was still fine this past season, or their defense, that is, rather. What is the key takeaway from their defense for you?
um, let's see. Looking at it, um, the pick and roll roller stuff is interesting to me. I feel like they'd be better on that just because considering how much drop coverage I felt like they played, like with Edie and a couple out of their bigs. Especially when you have those big guys, I definitely want to see that be cleaned up a little bit. But like you said, teams were running it like a crazy amount against them. They were pretty good everywhere else besides that. I mean, the transition stuff is concerning. You don't want teams to be running out against you a lot, but when they're converting at like an average rate, I guess it doesn't hurt you too much. Defensive rebounding that can't be so low when you have Zach Edey and Jaren Jackson Jr., two great rebounders, and you have capable wings around him to get boards, and you have explosive point guards who can also get up there, like Jalen Wells, Vince Williams, Santi Aldama, Scottie Pippen Jr., Brandon Clark. All those guys can rebound. So, and defensive rebounding is so important to finish possessions. When you guys are getting like really good second chance opportunities, that kills you. That kills momentum, and that kills like just spirit and like all around. Like when you work so hard when you play defense for like defense hard as hell for 18 seconds, and then they get the ball again, and then you have to do the same thing. It really starts to wear and tear on you. So I guess just cleaning that up a little bit, and then just figuring out an effective way to use Edie in the pick and roll game, I think would be my takeaways from this.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about the pick and roll defense just like being okay, and I think a big reason for that is they don't have too many guys who can fight around screens, and not like they have to drop Zach Edey in the pick and roll, and like you more or less had to drop Jay Huff in pick and roll, and post ACL Brandon Clark, you'd have to drop him a little bit more than you want. Outside of Jaren Jackson Jr., they didn't have much switchability from their big position, and a lot of the time Jaren was playing the 4 because he's not a good rebounder to play the 5. So they ran into some schematic difficulties on that aspect. Um, Other than that, they could defend in isolation. They had a bunch of guys like Desmond Bane is just a tank, right? And that helped him stay in front of guys and bump them off spots from time to time, but it made it really hard for him to chase around screens. Jalen Wells, huge rookie addition that we didn't even talk about last season for more than a couple of seconds. And he really improved defensively in the NBA. But by trait, he was not a defensive player in college. So that was your main perimeter defender as a rookie who wasn't a defensive player before this past season. Quite crazy that he was as good as he was. Um, a lot of it was like size on the back line really bailed out mediocre perimeter defense. I wouldn't say they were bad perimeter defense wise, but I would just say they were mediocre. Even like Santi has like really plus size on the back line if he's playing the 3 or the 4. Um, it was overall a fine defensive ecosystem. I think they made some moves this past season, off season, to hopefully address some of that, and we'll get into that. Are you ready to talk about coaching scheme? Okay. Um, Team scheme and coaching staff, as you can see there is Tomas Isalo talking with John Morant, probably saying, we will run pick and roll for you now. We fired Taylor Jenkins. Um, he is now the head coach. GM is Zach Kleinman, or Kleiman, and he's done a lot of cooking over the past couple of years, specifically in the draft. Assistant coach Joe Boylan, Patrick Mutombo, and Eric Schmidt. Those guys have all been there in there. They are now in their second seasons. What stands out to you about this front office and coaching staff? I think you're muted.
I think this is a huge prove it year for Coach Tumas. Just considering how bad the end of the season was last year, a lot of concerns from him. Sorry. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see what he does. And like you said, the GM has been Zach has been cooking. Jalen Wells, like kind of one of the steals of the draft. I feel like this kid was really, really good. Like solid production offensively, and actually did great for them defensively too, considering like what the role he was put in. Um, as far as like scheme stuff, a lot of off-ball screens get three-point shooters open, like Desmond Bane. I think that some of the guys that they just drafted are going to benefit from some of those. Um, a thing that I liked was when Jaren Jackson was being the initiator. I thought it was really nice for them to do that because Jaren Jackson Jr. is a decent enough passer to where if they kind of collapse the paint on him when he drives, he could kick it out to an open shooter, which we saw a lot last year. Um, Zach Edey, you just mentioned it. We'll run pick and rolls for John Morant. I think Zach Edey's gonna thrive in that if that's what they do. Because when he was in there, they did run a little bit of pick and roll with him as opposed to kind of the free flowing offense that we saw earlier in the season. And it worked out pretty well. Like Zach Edey's a big guy, great screener, and also when he's rolling to the basket, it's easy for him to just grab it and kind of flick it up. And then kind of what I've been mentioning a little bit, just a lot of off-ball movement, like guys cutting to the basket, and shooters relocating to open spots. It's refreshing to see because like we've been talking about a lot of bad teams and even some good teams where the shooters are just sitting there on the on the um on the perimeter, not really moving, just waiting for the catch and shoot. But I feel like guys were getting like great shot opportunities just because they moved like 5 feet to the left. And the pace. You can't talk about the Grizzlies without talking about the pace. First in pace last year. They love to push the pace. Yeah. You're muted. You're muted. There you go.
I quickly was like, let me look at NBA.com to see Zach Edey's efficiency in the pick and roll on the roll. NBA.com did not track him for a single roll man possession this past season, which to me that sounds impossible.
Yeah, that's crazy. No way you don't throw it to the 7'2" big man, like at all. There's no like. That's crazy. I did not. I didn't know that. Didn't know that one.
Yeah. Now, I think a lot of the stuff said about how they coached last year was very overblown because they had by far the best offense they've ever had in their Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr. iteration of the team. That being said, you could have ran some Zach Edey roll man stuff. I don't, you could have given him a play or two. Not you didn't have to make it the staple of your offense, but just a play a game would have been pretty cool. Um, just ridiculous. I'm also now like retroactively like, did they run post ups for him at least? And
Yeah, like you would think they'd at least sprinkle it in a couple games, like 3 possessions of the whole like 99 you're gonna run.
yeah. Yeah, so they did do a possession and a half a game for Zach Edey post ups. So um maybe we'll see a couple more of those this next season. I think out of anybody, I think Edey was like the main player that was not set up well in this previous offensive scheme. Other than that, I think everybody else benefited from what they were doing. They played unique. Nobody else played like them. It was very hard for other teams to adjust to that on a night to night basis. And they produced the best offense they've ever produced. I think a lot of the criticism is, why do you have Ja Morant if you're not going to run screens? Well, you can also just, if you run screens into Ja Morant and you don't have the best shooting out there, which they did have good shooting, but let's say there's, Zach Edey's not the one setting the screen, they can easily send double teams to Ja Morant. And a lot of the reason they did all the off ball movement was so they could get people uh out of digging lanes, or out of, cutting off driving lanes as well, or just it made it harder to send double teams, or divert your attention from your man, which was very key for helping Jaren Jackson especially get downhill and get self-created offense. And it also helped Ja Morant. I know his points per game was down last season. He was still very effective. It was in a way that like more of the team is going to have success playing that way, and it worked, and they had one of their best offensive seasons. So for that reason, I think this
So,
was a good offense.
oh yeah, I was just gonna quickly say, yeah, you're 100% right, Pat. John Moran doesn't need to go out there and average like 26 a game when you have like a bunch of other guys capable of scoring. You know, um, Aldama for them was really good last year off the bench. They also had Desmond Bain, Jaren Jackson Jr. was doing really good. Uh, Jalen Wells was doing really good, and they also had guys like deeper on the bench, like Gigi Jackson, Konkar, guys like that could also score, and they did it effectively. So why don't you share the wealth? Why don't you share the rock? Which is what they did, and why it was so successful. And it's not like Morant had a down year; he still averaged 23 a game. Um, so it's not like a drastic change. So I think what they did last year was really good. I mean, before the firing, this was a third seed in the West, a stacked West. Uh, yeah,
Another key of this that we've forgotten to mention too is they played very low minutes per game for everybody pretty much, except I guess their bench players, but their starters played like less than 30 minutes a game, and it led them to be very fresh. Ja Morant still managed to miss his games, but um, that alone will deflate stats. I'm pretty sure I can pull up the per 36 numbers, but I don't think they're down that much year to year for John Morant. Um, and yeah, overall, like it kept their legs fresh. It kept young players getting chances to play, and the Grizzlies have drafted so well over the past couple of seasons that they just had an influx of talent. Um, as far as a ton of players, yeah, year to year this past season he was averaging 35.5 points per 100 possessions. That is only behind his 2022 and 2023 seasons, and it's like 4 points behind those seasons, way ahead of his younger seasons in 2021 and 2020. Yeah, John Morant, like he's still playing like a star. He's playing less minutes, and his usage was like slightly tweaked. It's okay. Like John Morant, his best action is running pick and roll. Sure. What's best for the team was not him running a ton of pick and rolls. However, he does now have Zach Edey, and you should have probably mixed in at least one Zach Edey pick and roll at some point throughout the season. I don't understand how even they ran 10 of them a game. How did Edey not end up with any of them?
I guess Jenkins just was not fucking with Edie's pick and rolls. Maybe he was opening his shoulder the wrong way on the pick and rolls, and Jenkins was like, "Oh, we can't have that."
It was what it was. It was a Cleveland Browns Shadur Sanders situation. They got the entire offensive line, which was in this case their point guards, to agree to play like crap and not throw it to the 7'4" guy.
It's a good theory. It's a good theory.
It's a great theory. We loved Edie in the draft too. We were like pretty high on Edie, and like Memphis taking him at 9 needs to get some credit because that was not really the consensus at the time. Like taking him at 9 was viewed as a reach by a lot of people, and we were like, yeah, it makes sense. And Edie lived up to our expectations year one. Do you have any other scheme or coach stuff? Or I guess Zach Kleiman, praise or disrespect?
Nah, think. I really liked what he did this offseason too. A couple guys, at
Well, we'll
least one
talk
of them.
about it. Starting with the draft.
Was a
Uh,
trigger warning next to Javon Small? Is that what that is?
two-way contract. That's funny.
Oh yeah.
Trigger warning's crazy. Oh gosh. Um, we're at 11th. They took Cedric Howard from Eastern Washington, I believe was his last school. If not, it was one of his schools. And then Javon Small from West Virginia. Uh, quite the draft that they had here. Two like guys who I had as top 40 players. So me agreeing with Memphis uh, hopefully is good for me because they've typically done pretty well. Where do we want to start here with these guys?
Let's start with Cedric Howard. This is a very intriguing prospect here. 6'6" with a 7'2" wingspan, 213 pounds. This kid can shoot the lights out of the ball, Pat. Only played 6 games last year, but he shot 40%, and previously in his 2 seasons, he shot around 39%, I believe. He's just a really good 3-point shooter, and what he could also shoot off the dribble a little bit while moving, but he excels with the catch and shoot, and that's what he's going to get here in Memphis. He's going to be on the wing, getting those catch and shoot opportunities. So I think he has the ability to come in and make an impact day one. Um, he can finish around the rim too. Really good at cutting off the ball. So in an off ball setting, he also did really good. Really long, right? 7'2" wingspan allows him to get around defenders. Um, yeah, sneaky passer too. 3.7 assists per game. He did have some issues with like handling and self creation, but I do think that the passing is a underrated aspect of his game. 3.7 assists last year, and then probably one of the most the what everyone's excited about in that Memphis front office is the defense and the defensive upside, Pat. Just a really good defender, really great help defender. Like he can get it, he moves in the lanes. His recovery time is like really good, and he used that long wingspan to get deflections, steals, and blocks. A lot of people have been comparing him to Kawhi in that sense with his defensive just IQ and feel for the game. Um, and yeah, I mean, he can also play on ball too with that defense. There is the one thing on the defense is sometimes in college he would tend to ball watch a lot, and he just wouldn't be very engaged. So, but when you're in the NBA, when you have coaches up your ass every 5 minutes during the game, I think that should be fixed pretty well. But I mean, pretty much great shooter, really good defender, and he can finish at the rim and cut to the basket. So you got to love that. And the size is just really good. He can play two. He can guard the 2 through the 4 positions. The 4 positions probably just not crazy because of the weight, the size a little bit. But I mean, this is a guy that can affect anyone's shot just by putting his hand up. So uh, Grizzlies fans should be over the moon about this.
This is your theoretical, like, really good fourth starter, two-way wing type of player, but he's coming in already being a great shooter. I don't think people realize, like, how rare that is from this player archetype. Um, Coming into the league, Mikal Bridges did not have this type of shooting of profile. OG Anunoby couldn't shoot his first couple years in the league. Jeremy Grant couldn't shoot his first couple years in the league. Aaron Gordon couldn't shoot until this past season, 10 years in. Like, the fact that Cedric Howard is already a very projectable shooter. I believe his last 3 years in college, he shot basically 40% on real volume. In the past 2 seasons, he used 4 attempts a game, close to 40% in the most recent season before this one, and then 40% in this last season. Uh, you mentioned the length. It's like awesome NBA wing defensive disruptive length. And then he's a very good finisher at the rim. He can't really get to the rim, like you mentioned. Struggles with self creation, but that was his role this past season at college. And that, leads me to believe that, like, there's some passing feel there. Like you said, he averaged 3.7 assists to 2.2 turnovers, which is pretty solid considering there was a good amount of, like, ball handling turnovers in there because he's an off ball wing, not necessarily a point guard of trait. Yeah, I think the passing feels pretty solid for a player of his archetype. The shot is already advanced. And, I was going to say, like, the defense is, like, a little bit behind for a player of his archetype. But after seeing what Memphis did with Jalen Wells, who was, like, probably a pretty bad defender his draft year, and right away he steps in and is decent defensively. So Cedric Howard was much better than that in college, and then in the lower levels in his earlier college career, he was pretty good defensively. So yeah, Cedric Howard to me is like, I had him as a top 10 player in the draft, I think around 9, and then yeah, I just love the fit here with Memphis. They gave up a future pick from Orlando, uh, and pick 16 to trade up with Portland, and I think it was well worth it. They acquired that pick also in the Desmond Bane trade, so they traded 2 of their Desmond Bane trade picks for Cedric Howard. Uh, what do we think about that move, I guess, outside of just it being Cedric Howard?
Um, I mean, I like it because you also got KCP who in that trade, which helps with the defense a little bit. Obviously, the shooting wasn't there last season, but the defense is going to help. Team that struggled a little bit defensively near the end of the year, and then you give up two picks to get kind of you still get the shooter that, I mean, obviously he's not going to come to the league shooting 40% from the 3 point line, but you still get a shooter, still get a wing shooter, you get a really good defender, and you get a guy with like a lot more upside at this point, just like at this point in time, than Desmond Bane would have given you, and you get him on a rookie contract. Um, I mean, I think it's a pretty good deal, especially to trade those 2 picks to get him. I don't think you get another caliber player like this from those other picks, especially if you think that you're going to be in playoff contention next year. It's going to be hard to get a guy so good in the lottery. Um, and you ended up making a good deal, so I like it. I do like it.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was the type of guy that you want to do it. Like a guy who you think is pretty safe, who you should be able to mold into something good in the NBA. I think it's a good move. Um, next, or I guess we should throw out a couple player comps for Cedric Howard because we actually like player comps because we don't just give everybody a Tracy McGrady comparison. Um, yeah, what came up for Mr. Cedric Howard?
I think an interesting one is Dorian Finney-Smith, just kind of like the 3-point shooting and the defense versatility and the size. Um, like a guy that just knocks down shots and plays good defense and has the ability to drive to the basket a little bit, but really just I think that that'll be his role in the NBA is kind of like a versatile defender and a guy that'll knock down shots. But I do think he will be more used as a shooter than Finney Smith is.
Yeah, I think Finney Smith is like an awesome like middle of the threshold, like what happens with him. Keep in mind too, Finney-Smith really struggled to shoot to start his career. That's how safe Cedric Howard is, in my opinion. Like a player of his archetype should not already be able to shoot, and he can.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I think absolute ceiling is Mikal Bridges. Like he has somewhat of flashes of playing on the ball. Mikal Bridges still can't get to the rim by himself. Like he has to be used as a cutter. Um, and they have similar like sleight of frame type situation, even though Cedric Howard's probably even more filled out than Mikal Bridges is. And yeah, I think that's like a super high end outcome. If not, I do really love that Dorian Finney-Smith shell because that's pretty good. And I don't think he'll flame out and be a Cam Reddish type because I think he's just proven to be way more skilled than Cam Reddish was. Like Cam Reddish shot 32% from three in his college season, or it might have been lower than that. It might have been 29. Yeah, I really think Cedric Howard's like pretty safe bet. With like real like 40 million a year upside. So yeah, Javon Small, do we want to talk about him?
yeah. You want to start?
Well yeah, so Javon Small, right away you're like, okay, so he's a small guard, right? And he is a small guard. He's 6'2", 180 pounds. Was a very productive college player this past season, averaged almost 18 points, which, you know, I am like the king of uh points per game sucks, but 18 points per game in college does mean something, especially in Javon Small's case, where he was pretty efficient. He has a 2-year run at Oklahoma State and West Virginia, both being in the Big 12, where he did shoot decently on high volume from three. He's a decent defensive playmaker as well, and he seems to be a solid enough passer. Had about a 2 assist to turnover ratio this past season. Um, I thought Javon Small was like a very like safe bet late in the um second round. I don't think there's like too much upside with him, but he should potentially be like an NBA guard at some point. And like Scottie Pippen Jr., like we just look at the Memphis roster, was much further behind at this point in his career. What do we think about Javon Small on your end?
Yeah, I like him a lot. He can also shoot a little bit from the 3-point line with the catch and shoot stuff. 42% from three last year on catch and shoot shooting. Um, and he can navigate the pick and roll a little bit. Pat, he averaged 5.6 per game last year, and really quick reads. And he's 6'1". He can still finish pretty good at the rim too. And his defensive energy is really good. 1.5 steals per game last year, and this is a guy that's 6'1". Decent wingspan though at 6'5". So I feel like this is a guy that plays a little bit above his like actual size on the defensive end, and he can shoot and pass, which you love, and he can get to the rim too, which allows for kick out opportunities to open shooters. Um, I think the main thing is going to be like how will the size, how big of a size, how big will size play a factor in the NBA because he is like an undersized guard. I don't think it should be too much of a problem. And then how is he going to be able to play make in the NBA? Is he going to be able to still be an effective passer and playmaker in the pick and roll like he was last year? Maybe we get some fire pick and roll Zach Edey connections, but yeah, I mean this is like you said, really safe bet. Like you just get like a yeah, safe bet. It's the end of the round. I think he was the last pick of the draft, like literally. So Can't go
Well,
wrong
he's
there.
the 48th pick.
48th. Oh, then their other guy they got was the last pick.
Oh shoot, I've completely missed somebody. All right. Yeah, I mean Javon Small as well. Like he was an 87% career college free throw shooter. Like this
Yeah.
guy should be able to shoot pretty well in the NBA.
Yep.
Um, name that came to mind for me, and maybe as I'm saying this, he's definitely a better shooter than this guy and probably doesn't play one to one like him, but he reminds me a little bit of like a smaller version of Ayo Dosunmu, although he's probably a better shooter than Ayo is, so that caveat is there. What other names sort of came to mind for you? I mean, Jose Alvarado as well is another name because he's a
Yeah.
small guard shooter as well. So
Yeah. I was gonna go with another small guard, not as good a shooter, but Davion Mitchell, from
yeah,
Miami. Really great defender, and he can shoot the three too. He knocks down the three ball as well. The okay passer, but just a guy that plays like bigger than he is on defense for sure. And I think that's what Javon Small can bring to the table.
yeah, for sure. And if you're really high on that defense from a 6'1" guard, Davion Mitchell's the name to go. Who's the 60 or 59th pick in this draft that I've completely missed?
Um. Well, okay. Okay. I believe it's Jemai Mashak from Tennessee.
Okay, this could be correct. I'm going to Google.
Yeah. Second guess me or double check for me.
Um, how do you spell Meshack?
Mashak.
Okay, I'm seeing the Rockets, which
Okay. Really?
yeah, we didn't talk about him, so and the
He's,
Rockets. Oh shit.
that's weird because he said like I'm seeing him on the depth chart for Memphis. That's crazy. Well,
Hold up.
who knows? Maybe Meshack doesn't even exist in real life. He's just a figment of our imaginations.
Maybe the real Meshack was the friends we made along the way. Okay, no, so he is on Memphis. He is on Memphis,
Okay,
100%. Okay, Jamal
yeah,
Meshack, like awesome defensive player. He's yeah. I mean
pretty much it.
that's pretty much it. Like completely forgot that he went to Memphis. I'm glad you knew it because yeah,
Shout out, shout out, News Channel 3 WREG Memphis for the info. Appreciate y'all.
hell yeah. Um
Yeah,
yeah, I
I mean a
was
defensive guard, he can't really do much on offense, but I mean 6'4" with a 6'8" wingspan, pretty big guy. Good, measured good at the combine too, with like all his the shuffle stuff that they do, the shuffle cones and all that
yeah.
stuff. So yeah, last pick, Mr. Irrelevant, right?
Yeah,
Maybe
I
he
mean
could turn Brock Purdy.
he might be really good. He might be trying to play at the UFL in a couple of years because his size would be great at cornerback. Um, but hey, I mean, this is the team to go to develop, and we trust in the Memphis Grizzlies. We've given him more time than we gave Jalen Wells last season, so
There you go.
way to go, Meshack. We like Meshack. Trades and free agents. We mentioned they acquired Kentavious Caldwell Pope. They have signed Ty Jerome to a $28 million over 3 years deal. Jock Londale is on a league minimum, and PJ Hall, trigger warning, is on a two-way
Hmm.
contract. Lost from the summer league, Charlotte Hornets.
Yes. He played on Clemson, right?
Yes.
Okay.
What stands out here for me? I'll go first. Ty Jerome is like really
Yeah.
awesome, and this contract is a steal. And KCP like at least brings some tenacity and perimeter defense, hopefully, to the team, and maybe he hits shots for them. We'll have to see. Uh, KCP year to year decides if he wants to hit shots that year.
Yeah.
Usually it depends on if Jokic or LeBron's on his team. Um, but he's a very good player
Or
and very respected around the league. So,
yeah.
what do we have to say? What do you got? What do you think? There we go.
Yeah, I really like Ty Jerome. I really love the Ty Jerome signing. I think last year their backup point guard was Scottie Pippen Jr. or Tyus. No, yeah, Scottie Pippen Jr. was their backup last year. And Ty Jerome just had a crazy year for the Cavs this year, and he didn't get a lot of playing time either. I mean, 19 minutes a game, and he averaged 12.5 points, a 43% shooting, shooting around three a game. Um, the assist numbers were pretty good. I mean, not crazy, 3.4 assists, but he has the ability to pass the ball. 2.5 rebounds a game. Shot 51% from the field. I mean, this dude's just a shot maker. Plays a little bit of defense too, and I think like you finally have a true backup point guard in Memphis. And I hope they do the thing last year where they played a lot of bench guys, because I think Ty Jerome should get a lot of minutes this year because he really balled out, and even in the playoff games too. He came up big for them in a couple performances. KCP, the defense is going to be there for sure, and I think that's one of the main reasons they just went out and got him. And like you said, maybe he ends up shooting 40% again like he did a year ago. But this year was definitely rough on the offensive side. 34% from three, which was his lowest since 2016. Only 8 points a game. Didn't really do much else, but he played good defense, so you got to give him that. Played a lot of games too. These guys are reliable guards. It strengthens your front court a little bit, or your back court.
Backcourt. Yeah.
Yeah, strengthens your backcourt a little bit. You already have a really, really strong front court, so I think this is really big for them, because now you finally have guards in there, and you're not playing like guys that would be not getting a lot of minutes, or third guards getting minutes. Like Cam Spencer got a lot of minutes this year. Scottie Pippen Jr. got a lot of minutes this year, and I feel like Ty Jerome and KCP are levels beyond where they are right now. Not saying that those guys will be good, and I mean, Scottie Pippen Jr. has been in this league for a long time, it feels like. And he finally had his breakout year this year. So it's interesting to see, but I think this is huge. Like, the Ty Jerome signing's really been like not talked about a lot around the league, and I feel like it's one of the more underrated signings, because I think that he's going to bring a lot to this team.
I mean, Ty Jerome was awesome, and I do have to give you one correction. He did not play well in the playoffs, which is probably why
Oh,
Memphis was able to get him on this contract.
my
Another
bad.
thing with him, though, he played 2 games the year before. Like, he has had the injury pill. Even if you look dating back to 2020, he played 30 games that season, then 33, 48, 45, 2, and then 70 this past season. He's had a rough bill of health for, like, usually these like ground bound guards don't get just absolutely destroyed health wise, but Ty Jerome has been. Some of that is also just like DNPs, but still has had the availability concerns. If you just look at his per 100 possessions this past season, he averaged 30 points. Um, where's the assists? 30 points, 8 assists, and 6 rebounds this past season, which is ridiculous. And there are going to be plenty of games um, where he is starting because Ja Morant's out. He's gonna miss 30 games. So let's just go ahead and pencil that in. Get Ty Jerome, who's like awesome and can play with Ja Morant too, if you want him to do that. I think it's a great fit, and he can play on and off the ball. He can shoot, he can pass, he can get to the rim almost, and then he'll shoot some floaters. But yeah, that's good. And then Jock Landale, can't hate on him. He goes out there and plays hard. And that's what you want from Memphis, because they got a ton of centers. We talked about a center by committee situation last season. Looks like they're rolling in with that again. And then KCP. Everybody knows what KCP brings. Also could potentially be a good mentor for Ja Morant. Telling him, you do not want to have an ankle monitor like I did. Get it all together.
Yes, I believe that was a trivia question one time.
It
The
was.
goat, the goat.
Uh, shout out to KCP. That was said no means of disrespect. Just like he legitimately is well respected around the league. He just had a crazy couple years in the start of the NBA. Detroit will do that to you. Anyway, we'll go forward to their losses because I think this is like the main part that people recognize from Memphis's offseason. Desmond Bane has gone to the Magic in a trade. Jay Huff has gone to the Pacers. Marvin Bagley back to the Wizards. Let's go. Luke Kennard has gone to the Hawks. Yuki Kawamura is on the Bulls. Zion Poulin is unsigned and Lamar Stevens is unsigned. Those guys have all left the squad. Desmond Bane's obviously the big one. Like, he's been a near 20-point per game scorer, one of the best shooters in the league for multiple seasons. I think the embodiment of what the Grizzlies are. Everybody talks about Jaren Jackson and Ja Morant. Those guys are both top 4 picks. Desmond Bane was the 30th overall pick traded on draft night. That Memphis was like, yes, this guy is obviously good. We'll take him. And yeah, and he's just developed into being like a top 50 player in the league. Will probably make an all-star team this next season, depending on what Magic players gets credit for their team being good. Um, what do we have to say about everything else, or Desmond Bane if you want to talk about him?
Yeah, I mean, I think Desmond Bane's really the only big one that stands out to me. You had a crowd. You had a crowd. I mean, Jay Huff was good last year. Don't get me wrong. You did have a little bit of a crowded center room, so losing him, I think you had the guys that back it up. With Lindell, Brandon Clark, and Edie, you probably don't get the shooting from the center position like Jay Huff brought you. So, but I really don't think that's going to be too much of an issue. The big one is obviously Desmond Bain for them. You mentioned it. You mentioned why he's so good. Um, but you have to remember they got KCP in this trade. They got 2 first-round picks, and now they have Cedric Howard. So I think, and we were kind of talking about this too a little bit, like which one of the big 3 have to go because they're taking up a lot of money, and I think this just gave them a lot more flexibility with the cap and the apron. And I'm sure you're about to talk about it in the next slide. So I think it was a decision that had to be made. It hurts a lot, but if you're the Grizzlies, it's kind of a new era, a little bit of a new era. Not so much as it's going to be a drastic change, but now you don't have one of the guys that have been on there for a while. But I think they'll be able to manage without it. It's a big loss, but I think the fact like what they ended up getting back from the trade, not too bad, not too bad. And then these other guys, Luke Kennard was a good player for them last year, but the rest of these guys are kind of just like G League guys. I don't know.
Yeah, roster filler guys. That like
Roster fill.
a lot of them are well known. Lamar Stevens has been on a bunch of teams, and Yuki is Yuki.
Yuki.
And Marvin Bagley was selected over Luca. So everybody knows these guys, but they fill out rosters. I think Bane, Huff, and Kennard are like their real losses here. Not too big though. They got a haul for Desmond Bane. I guess we do need to talk about that. They did receive the Phoenix Suns pick next season.
Oh,
Um,
really?
it'll
Okay, that's
it'll
good.
be it'll either be the Suns pick or it'll be the Wizards pick if the Wizards are a better team than the Suns.
Is that our top 8 pick though?
Yeah, so it'll be a top 8 pick or the Suns pick if the Suns are outside the top 8.
Well, I know we have an unprotected top 8 or a protected top 8 pick this year.
Yeah, it's
Is
really
that
weird.
it?
So how it works is if the Wizards are outside of the top 8, the pick goes to the Knicks. But if the
Oh.
Wizards fall in the top 8, they either get their pick or they get the Suns pick if the Suns pick is better than theirs.
Oh, okay, okay.
And then Orlando will get the second of their pick and the Suns pick, which was now sent to Memphis. So Memphis will get the second best of Washington, Phoenix, or Orlando. And we'll
Wow.
talk about that trade more in the Matt Ishbia section in the Suns.
Yeah.
But they've done some cooking over there, and I don't know if the kitchen is still there. Um,
Where in Phoenix?
they might have burned in Phoenix. They definitely burned the kitchen down. They
The chef
yeah,
has been fired.
Yeah, so the real way that Magic trade really shapes out to be big is if next year's Phoenix pick ends up being like a top pick. I think the real way it works crazy is if that's somehow the number one pick and the Wizards don't have their top eight pick. But they could easily get a top five pick out of the Desmond Bain trade in next year's draft, which could be big. It's just, the Suns have to have the last pick. So notable losses, there's that. We talked about Desmond Bain for a little bit. Credit to Spotrac, we'll talk about them. Um, as you can see, this Jaren Jackson Jr. extension is finalized. They got it done. They bumped up his 25-26 money a little bit, and then gave him 50 million a season, which is just under 30% of the cap. Um, that's there. John Morant is extension eligible right now. Let's go ahead and wait on that one. That's what Memphis has decided to do as well. Santi Aldama. Nobody talks about this Santi contract. Like it's awesome. He's making less than 18 million a season. He has a team option at the end of it. Like that's a steal of a contract for Santi Aldama, considering he was my only good breakout prediction. Memphis, I'm disappointed in y'all for stealing money from Santi and Ty Jerome. And then other than that, it's inexpensive contracts like the Ty Jerome contract. I guess the one contract you could argue is giving them negative surplus is the Brandon Clark deal. But then you look at the bottom here, they have all these like nobody players guys who were nobody players at the time that they signed that ended up getting on these scam contracts like Cam Spencer, who's fine, Vince Williams Jr., who's shown signs of being good before. Scottie Pippen Jr. is there, has no guaranteed money, and it won't be a free agent under his own control for a long time. And then Gigi Jackson Jr., who it was at least good his rookie season. We'll see what he ends up being in the long term. But yeah, they just
Still waiting. Still waiting on him.
yeah, he's still waiting. He might break out this next season. He might not. We don't know. They got a lot of guys you could say that about. Going forward, here's Fanspo. Here's what they have to say. They could technically have cap space this upcoming off season, and yeah, outside of that, it doesn't look great. Otherwise, I think this is actually before the Bane trade, so there's that. And then their books, like I said before, like they're relatively clean here. Like they have a bunch of middle ground contracts that they can get out of if they need to with Santi, and none of these young guys are guaranteed their money, but you probably want to guarantee them. And then yeah, there's their books. Lineup data, we'll talk about it. So we have the data with John Morant and Jaren Jackson sharing the floor. That was in a plus 11.8. With John Morant only on the floor, that was minus 2.3 or 1.3. And with only Jaren Jackson, it was a plus 407. So we'll talk about each individual player within those contexts. Desmond Bain with both of them on was a plus 10.8. Yeah, pretty good.
Stuff.
With only Ja, it was a minus 124, so slightly better than just when Ja was out there by himself, but it was still rough. 0.33 with Desmond Bain and Jaren Jackson Jr., and then with both John Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bain was a basically net neutral at minus 0.15. As you can see, Desmond Bain wasn't super strong signal in these lineup datas, and we'll get into why. And a lot of that has to do with, as you can see, John Morant is a minus with only John Morant out there, and with only Jaren Jackson Jr. they're a plus. And we'll talk about that and why that's the case. With John Morant, Edie, and Jaren Jackson Jr., they were a plus 19 last season. The pairing of John Morant and Zach Edey was a minus 7.79. It makes sense when you have two non-shooters and you won't give Zach Edey any pick and roll reps. He's just, I guess he's a dunker spot guy, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's what they would just have JJJ do like little dump off passes to him, and then he'd do a dunk, pretty much, damn near.
Yeah, and then Edie and Jaren sharing the floor was a plus 8 9-7. So as you can see, again, like the signal's stronger with just Jaren Jackson Jr. out there. With both off the floor, Zach Edey was a minus 6.67, or it wasn't good. Santi Aldama with sharing the floor with both was a plus 5.16. So that's actually weaker than their overall signal. And then a minus 2.44 with only Jaw, a plus 2.29 with only Jaren, and a plus 5.8 with neither out there. Big reason for that, Santi's running the show kind of with nobody out there, and those were some interesting minutes. Scottie Pippen Jr. was a plus 1.26, sharing the floor with both of their stars. With only Ja Morant, this is one of the only positive numbers, was a plus 16.01 with Ja Morant on and Jaren Jackson off the floor. That was super weird, and it was as you can see, they've brought in Ty Jerome, and they're hoping that they can play two guards out there to hopefully hedge make their offense very good during the stretch where Jaren's on the bench. 0.91 with Scottie Pippen and Jaren sharing the floor together, and then a minus 104 with both Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. off, with Scottie Pippen on the floor. With Jalen Wells out there sharing the floor with the two stars, they were plus 14.5. With only Ja, it was a minus 8.3. With only Jaren Jackson, it was a plus 7.2. And then with both off the floor, it was a minus 3.5. What I would take away from this, the defense is kind of the main thing that mattered. Their offense was really good regardless of who was out there. I'll pull up the on-off individual offensively for Ja Morant, but pretty sure it was pretty non-existent for a player of his caliber. Jaren Jackson really kept them very good on defense when he was out there. When he was off the floor, they struggled on defense. Size was big playing with both of their guys. As you can see, Edey was excellent with their starting guys. And then otherwise, Santi was a little bit worse. I would assume most of the Santi, Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr. shared lineups were Ja Morant, or were with Jaren at the 5 and Santi at the 4. Those were less effective. And then Edey, like next to Jaren Jackson, is like a fucking cheat code. And it kind of worked like that for all of their bigs. It's always kind of worked that way. Yeah. Any huge takeaways for you on this standpoint?
It looks like whenever Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson are out there, good things are happening for this team. Um, yeah, and then the Ja only stuff is a little, I don't know, it's just a lot of red with the big guys, but hopefully you find success like you said with Ty Jerome coming in there, running guard next to him, and you don't have too many. Hopefully you don't have too many possessions where it's just Ja Morant out there. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I think the unfortunate part is like they get heat for not having an offense centered around Ja Morant, but like you kind of have to because he didn't play that much. They had more minutes this past season with Ja not on the floor than on the floor, and there was a negative, like there was no correlation, or like they were a 118 offense without Ja Morant and a 118 offense with Ja Morant on the floor. No difference. So just really, they made an offense to play without him. It worked, and then Ja didn't have like an expanding value on that offense. So that's a large reason why there's these negative on-offs. Regardless, we'll talk about the new lineups. This is what I came away with. I could see it multiple different ways. Ja Morant, Jalen Wells, Santi Aldama, Jaren Jackson Jr., Zach Edey was the starting 5 I came away with. Also considered potentially starting KCP and Coward rather than Santi Aldama, but I think Santi's really good. So what do we think here?
Yeah, I had a little different take on it. I like, I don't know. I think you talked me into the two guard stuff. Why don't we start Ty Jerome? So, Morant, Jerome, Wells, JJJ, and Zach Edey, and then you have Santi Aldama coming off the bench where he thrived last year, and then you have KCP leading that bench, the veteran presence leading the bench. I think it'd be interesting. But I do like this lineup right here too. You have a lot of size, a lot of shooting, a lot of defense. It's good, but I don't know. It'd be interesting to see Ty Jerome start. I think he's earned it.
Yeah, I think the combination of Santi and Ty Jerome on the bench would also be really cool if you wanted to play your number 11 pick in Cedric Howard in their starting lineup. I think that could work really well. I think they just have a bunch of different combinations that could work here. So this is what I came away with. I'm very confident at some point this season they're going to do something completely different, and it might very well work. Um, yeah, Memphis has just done a continually good job drafting, and it's led them to have a ton of depth throughout their roster. Um, uh, Other than that, I mean, do you have any statements you want to make on any of these players on the bench? Because I guess this is our time to talk about some of them. You're muted.
I feel like Vince Williams Jr. could do a little something this year.
Shout out to Vince Williams, yeah.
Yeah.
American
Um,
RJ Barrett.
I wonder what the Scottie Pippen Jr. role is going to be because we saw him like excel in the playoffs, but it's like where do you find him? Like if this team does what they did last year and give the bench guys a lot of opportunities, I think he plays. But I just don't like. I just don't really see him. I don't know. I'm just curious to see what happens there. Cam Spencer is a name always to watch because of just the great shooting that he brings to the table. Yeah. Besides that, I mean, their bench is good. Like Conchar, all these guys, Gigi Jackson. I hope Gigi Jackson plays more because like he's last year was rough, but he also was coming off an injury, so I guess you can kind of give him some slack. Um, this year, hopefully the South Carolina native makes us proud.
I'm realizing now Brandon Clark has an E on the end of it. I feel bad.
It's all right. It's all right.
Oh well. Yeah, they just have so many guys that like can play, and this has like always been the thing with Memphis. So like maybe they should all play 15 minutes a game. We'll see. Um, Tumas Isalo has a lot of decisions to make with his rotations. Core questions. We'll go ahead and get to them. Do we think the Memphis Grizzlies improved their team for this upcoming season? Check the mute.
Don't worry, I haven't said anything. I'm thinking. I'm trying to think. You just gave up 19 points per game to get a rookie and a guy. I'm gonna say no. Oh wait, yes they did improve. I forgot they got Jerome too this year. I'm gonna go they did improve, but not by much. I think they
I'm
kind of I don't know. They kind of stayed the same.
I'm gonna go
So I
with
guess no.
no.
Yeah, I'm going no too. I'm sticking with what I said before. Give your reasoning.
I think they did a
Let's
good
hear it.
job like treading the situation because I think most teams wouldn't be trading Desmond Bain in their situation, but they knew that they had to be an under the cap team so they could extend Jaren Jackson Jr. or they would have had to trade Jaren Jackson Jr. So they had to trade Desmond Bain to get under the cap. They did that. Getting Cedric Howard was really good. I think he should be a decent player right away. It might take him a second, but I just don't think it made them right away a better team. And they were already a pretty good team, like we talked about. They won 48 games, and they should have won more. They had a 52 expected win pace this season. I don't think they got better. I think they probably will fall back into like a lower play-in team this season. Um, it's just a little unfortunate. Do we think they set themselves up better for the future?
Yeah, I'll say so. I think the addition of Cedric Howard opens up a lot of opportunities for him, and you got Ty Jerome, which is a young guard for the next 3 years. Um, yeah, so I'll say yeah, they did.
The Ty Jerome and Santi Aldama contracts are a scam that undoes anything that you might think Jaren Jackson Jr. is overpaid, which I don't think he is. Yeah, it completely undoes that. And then they could have a top 5 pick this next season with the Suns pick. They got Cedric Howard. They got 3 other Magic picks, or I think 2 other Magic picks now. It's like really good. They did really good this offseason, I think, in just acquiring guys. Javon Small might end up making a roster at some point this season. Uh, Way to go. Uh, Klyman Cooks. We always talk about that offensive MVP for this season. I'm gonna still stick with John Moran just because like I think they're gonna lean into the pick and rolls more. We'll see. Um, Zach Edey could also be pretty sick. I hope if they do that. So yeah, what do we think?
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little different. I'm gonna go Jaren Jackson Jr. Because I think a guy you mentioned is gonna be a pick in my later thing.
Ooh.
Um, So yeah, I'm gonna go Jaren Jackson Jr. Like he's really underrated for them offensively. Like at least last year, a lot of the stuff ran through him. He's a great rebounder and so good at scoring inside. With his footwork, the post game, and him just being big as fuck and just pushing dudes over. I think he's. I mean, he averaged around 20 points per game last season too. So, as like you said, if they do go more to that pick and roll approach, maybe John Morant, but also we know they don't like to run Zach Edey in that pick and roll. So who are they going to run in the pick and roll? And that's JJJ. So he'll get a lot of roller opportunities as well. So I'll go with. And I felt like when they needed a bucket, they would go to JJJ too. So I'm gonna go with JJJ as my offensive MVP.
Yeah, he was so efficient last season for like a shooter. He's definitely I would consider him a 4 man. And he's a decent, like he's a passable rebounder from the defense or from the 4 position if you want him to be a 4 for you. Yeah, he's gonna be my defensive MVP. I'm assuming yours as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, like it's just super easy to say that. Like he almost won Defensive Player of the Year this past season, and then Memphis like completely like downshot defensively. So way to go. But yeah, he's my defensive and your offensive MVP as well. So yeah, Jaren Jackson Jr. Maybe he's like their best player or something. I don't know. Um, Hot take apparently, but yeah, he's so awesome. He's such a great rim protector. Um, Agility from his size is like kind of unreal. Like his hips are really, he's really good at moving his hips, which I think is it helps him in a variety of ball screen coverages. He allows him to play higher on screens, allows him to switch and like cover long distance on a switch, moving laterally. Just awesome defensive player. You can't say enough about Jaren Jackson on that end. X Factor, I'll let you go ahead since you clearly have a more exciting X Factor than me.
I mean, I'm just gonna go with John Morant just because I feel like some of the stuff we talked about last a little earlier, just like staying on the court, bro. We need you on the court out there, because he's so electric when he's out there, like and just his ability to command the offense. If he can command the offense at a good rate, I think this team is a little better than just the playing. Um, yeah, I feel like he has to go out there and show out, and stay on the court. It's a big thing for him.
John Morant's health is like probably like one of the biggest X factors in the entire league. My X factor for them, Canada, man. We're going with Zach Edey.
Oh Canada, oh Canada.
Yeah, that's going
Is that
on
what
the
you were
reels.
playing? Is
Yeah,
that what you were playing?
that's going on the reels.
The true
um,
north, swamp, and free. I used to be reading it, bro. I used to be reading.
all right. Yeah, so Zach Edey, like they can just like if he could be a guy they can give the ball in the post to and like consistently get offense out of, it's gonna be really awesome. And like I think he's a good enough passer. We talked about it. Our only concern about him like translating to the NBA was like, can he like is he conditioned enough to be like a starter? Uh, Clearly he kind of is. He's like super Ennis Cantor who doesn't suck on defense, and we love Zach Edey. And if he can take step forwards offensively, like they could have a really scary offense if he like becomes a reliable post scorer. Because I think the passing touch could also be there as well. He just has to develop it with more post reps. So that's why Zach Edey's my guy for their X factor. Although John Morant's health is actually like a really big X factor as well. Other than that, any Grizzly comments for this upcoming season, or I guess this off season?
I don't, I don't have any comments because I just don't know what this team's gonna be. Hopefully they don't crash and burn and like after last season. Hopefully they still make the playoffs as like a play-in team. It's gonna be hard to be like a top 5 seed with this squad. I think.
Yeah, I think they've addressed some of the perimeter defense concerns, and that like will probably help. But I still don't know. Like they might not start the guys they brought in to address those perimeter defense concerns. So I don't know. Like I do think that they are probably still going to be a fine team, but like I said, it's probably in that like lower playoff play-in range again, like they ended up finishing last season, even though everybody was thinking they were better than that throughout the entire season, and they were looking like they were on pace to be a top 2 seed. So hopefully this won't fall off, like you said. Other than that, next episode we're going a little bit out of order. We're going to the New Orleans Pelicans. That will be a maybe a little more of a gloomy episode. But you guys will
Probably.
be seeing that in I believe 3 days, so that'll be awesome. Troy Weaver episode, baby. We'll see you then.